Daphne here. I thought I'd bring you some information about my very favorite books from different locations all over the world. This first one is The Light Between Two Oceans. It was a love story between three people, but it was a tragic story of a lighthouse keeper named Tom Sherborne and his wife Isabel, who, after discovering a baby in a shipwrecked boat, a boat that washed up on the shore of the lighthouse that they were keeping, have to face eventually the terrible consequences of their decision to raise a child that was not their own. I think this is a beautifully written love story between a man, woman, and a child. The tragic part is there were unforeseen circumstances which you will read about if should you decide to read this book. The next book comes from America. It's called The Winthrop Woman. And I always love this story about early America, when our country was just in its infancy, and the bravery of some of the people and the character was just astounding. And The Winthrop Woman is all about that. In 1631, Elizabeth Winthrop, newly widowed with an infant daughter, set sail for the New World. Against a background of rigidity and conformity, I guess that's what all the men were up to in those days, she dared to befriend a lady named Anne Hutchinson. At the moment, she was banished from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Because she dared to challenge a determined army captain bent on massacre of her friends, the Siwanoy Indians. And above all, she dared to love a man as her heart and her whole being dictated or commanded. As a response to this almost unmatched courage and vitality, Governor John Winthrop came to refer to this woman in the historical records of time as his unregenerate niece. That wasn't very nice, was it? Anna Seton's riveting historical novel portrays the fortitude, humiliation, and ultimate triumph of the Winthrop woman, who believed in a concept of happiness transcending that of her own day. I mean, this woman had just an incredible amount of courage, and it was lovely to read about her actions all those centuries ago. Well, actually, it wasn't centuries, it was all those years ago. All right, the next book is another favorite of mine, and this one comes from China. It was just a captivating novel about friendship. I think that's why I liked it, and it also because it was a pure representation of what it was like in China at the time. It's really a historical novel. I want to read you the description of it from Amazon. Lisa C's book, Snowflower and the Secret Fan, is a brilliantly realistic journey back to an era of Chinese history that is as deeply moving as it is sorrowful. In the 19th century China, when wives and daughters were foot-bound and lived in almost total seclusion, the women in one remote Hunan county developed their own secret code for communication. It was called Nushu, women's writing, in other words. Some girls were paired with leotongs, old sames, in emotional matches that lasted throughout their lives. They painted letters on fans, embroidered messages on handkerchiefs, and composed stories, thereby reaching out of their isolation to share their hopes and dreams and accomplishment. Oh, I absolutely loved this story. It was beautifully written. It was so touching and meaningful. And as a matter of fact, I have read this one twice. All right, so moving on, we head for Africa. And of course, Out of Africa by Isaac Dinesen is one of my very, very favorite books and favorite movies with Meryl Streep and Robert Redford. There was something about this book that absolutely captured my imagination. And even though my longing and loving of Africa came long before I read this book, this made Africa just that much more interesting and exciting to read this story about what it was like to live in Kenya all those years ago. So this is what was written about this book. This is a true account of the life of Isaac Dinesen on her plantation in Kenya. She tells with classic simplicity of the ways of the country and the natives, where big game that were her near neighbors, lions, rhinos, elephants, zebras, buffaloes, literally set on being a dairy farmer. The aristocratic Karen Blixen travels to Africa to join her husband, B-R-O-R, Broer, I guess it's pronounced, who instead spends his money on a coffee plantation. After discovering Broer is unfaithful, Karen develops feelings for Hunter Dennis, but realizes he prefers a simplistic lifestyle compared to her upper-class background. The two continue on until a series of events forces Karen to choose between her love and her personal growth. When I was in Nairobi, I actually went to Karen Blixen, I'm talking about Isaac Dinesen's house, and it was wonderful to take that step back in time to see where she actually lived in the years that she lived in Africa before she had to return to her native country because she had dysentery. But I'm a sucker for love stories, and this was definitely a beautiful love story. All right. The next one. This was another great, great novel. And it was about the Second World War. It's called The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. And here again, I have to admit my preference for enjoying love stories. So this is the review, or this was the synopsis of this book. With courage, grace, and powerful insight, best-selling author Kristen Hanna captures the epic panorama of World War II and illuminates an intimate part of history seldom seen, the Woman's War. The Nightingale tells the story of two sisters separated by years and experience, by ideals, passion, and circumstance. Each one embarking on her own dangerous path towards survival, love, and freedom in German-occupied, war-torn France. A heartbreaking, beautiful novel that celebrates the resilience of the human spirit and the durability of women. It is a novel for everyone because it is just such a wonderfully touching human story. I thought this was just an extraordinary book. All right. Now we come to the last book. And this one has a great deal of meaning to me. It's called Escape from Corrigador, because my family was in concentration camp, Chapai concentration camp. We were thrown in by the Japanese into that camp during the Second World War, and so was Edgar Whitcomb, the author of this book. But this is one fabulous book. I'm telling you, if there was ever a book about courage and strength and ingenuity, this is it. It's a fascinating story. So this is what was written about it. Edgar Whitcomb served in World War II and escaped from a Japanese concentration camp. He was an attorney, an Indiana state senator, Indiana Secretary of State, and Indiana's 43rd government. In retirement, Whitcomb still sought adventure with a 6-year around-the-world sailing trip. I'm telling you, he was just one remarkable human being, and my family absolutely loved him dearly. But he's long gone, so may God rest his soul in heaven. He was just such a great person. So that concludes my little round the world book tour. I hope you will enjoy some of these books as I did. They were just wonderful, wonderful stories, which is why I am recommending each one of them so highly to you.